It's pretty hard to imagine the story of Naruto without Team 7. The dynamic between these three characters created a bond that readers watched flourish over 15 years as the manga released 700 chapters on a weekly basis. However, the story of Naruto as we know it almost wasn't the story that we got. It's pretty well known by a lot of Naruto fans that Kishimoto was told to create Sasuke by his first editor that he was given at Shonen Jump, but what isn't as well known is the drama that surrounded the creation of both Sasuke Uchiha and Sakura Haruno. The Naruto story was picked up at the same time as the One Piece manga, but Oda's manga was published first. It can be argued that part of the reason for this is the tension that existed between Kishimoto and his first editor, and I ask you guys to forgive me for how I'm about to pronounce this name, but the name is Kosuke Yahagi. After the Naruto manga ended, there was an interview that was published in Weekly Shonen Jump where Kishimoto sat down with his very first editor at Jump to discuss the early days of the creation of Naruto. It's in this interview that we learn quite a bit about Team 7 and how drastically the series would have been if Kishimoto never listened to his editor's advice. Starting with Sakura Haruno, part of the reason why he didn't want to create her as a character is that he admitted that he isn't good at writing female characters, which any unbiased Naruto fan can tell you is 100% on the money. In his press run for the Naruto The Last, in a couple of interviews, he stated that he struggled writing female characters, in particular when it came to their emotions, which lines up with what he said in previous Jump Fiestas when the manga ran weekly in Shonen Jump, in particular when he gave an interview about Sakura's false confession, stating that the reason he had Sakura do that to Naruto was that he was trying to show how he felt that women's emotions truly were. For Sasuke, most fans know that it was his editor who pushed the shonen trope of giving the main character a rival. However, what isn't as well known is the fact that there's more to the rivalry than giving Naruto someone to chase after, to use a plot device to make Naruto train to become stronger. Instead, Kishimoto was given advice to include Sasuke in the story for the reason that Kishimoto has openly stated he struggled with, which is writing romance. In the 2014 interview, Kishimoto says the following, and it's here that I'm going to begin quoting. Yahagi-san told me to focus on the main character in the first 2 chapters, and then use chapter 3 onward to establish the rival and heroine to create a love triangle relationship between the characters. I'm no good with female characters, so I wasn't planning on this initially, but once I established the triangle, it became a lot easier to create chapters after that. I was surprised by how good the advice was, and that's why I tend to listen to what he tells me. Then again, one time he argued with me for 6 hours to convince me to take his advice. He's very persuasive, so sometimes I don't have a choice. Okay, so I don't know if you guys noticed, but Kishimoto threw a tad bit of shade towards the end there, stating that at times he didn't have much of a choice, on top of there being passionate 6 to 8 hour arguments over the direction of the story. The purpose of an editorial assistant is to work with the author, look over their drafts, and help clean up the story before getting the lead editor to sign off on the story moving forward. It's a very important role, but it's important to note that this role allows the author and the assistant to grow together. I'm not saying that that wasn't the case here, but this is the same editor who made Kishimoto drop the concept of making the 4th Hokage a dog. In another interview Kishimoto did, we learned that part of the reason he was so hesitant to create Sasuke was the fact that Kishimoto struggled with his design. The Sasuke Uchiha that we know isn't the Sasuke Uchiha that existed in the earlier drafts of the character. Kishimoto struggled drawing his face. At first, he kept drawing Sasuke as being older and more mature, but then his editor told him to make Sasuke the same age as Naruto. Then, Kishi tried to make Sasuke look more dramatic, like he was being advised by his editor, but this also led to another problem. The designs that Kishimoto were making were too difficult to draw on a weekly basis. Kishimoto drew the character with numerous necklaces and bands around his arms and legs. Kishimoto wanted to give the character more dynamic approach, giving him a lot of ornamentation. The issue that led to this was that Kishimoto realized that drawing the character with so much detail on a weekly basis would have been too time consuming. The same thing for Sasuke's hairstyle. Kishimoto cuts corners when it came to drawing Sasuke's hair, which saved him time on drawing. Even after simplifying Sasuke's design, design, drawing Sasuke was a bit of a task, which would explain why Sasuke was kept out the manga for almost 2 years when the Naruto story was running on a weekly basis. In fact, Kishimoto went through several designs for Sasuke, including a more military design like the one we saw in the Naruto Shippuden filler arc that showed the infinite Tsukuyomi dreams of everyone who was captured in the Genjutsu. However, it all came back to Kishimoto having trouble drawing Sasuke, or being tempted to make his design too complicated for himself. Going back to the 2014 interview with his editor, I think it should be worth noting that Kishimoto knew what his strength was as a writer. He didn't intend to create Sasuke or Sakura. The creation of Sakura Haruno and how she was handled is worth a video in itself, because Kishimoto has stated on numerous occasions that he struggled writing Sakura as a character, and most importantly as the lead heroine of the story. There became a disconnect between what Kishimoto intended for the character, how he envisioned her, and how fans actually started receiving her character, particularly when it came to the second half of the series. Then, when you add in the element of romance, it becomes even worse. The whole reason Kishimoto brought on a team of writers who had experience writing shoujo and female characters is because Naruto the Last was being promoted as a love story, and he openly admitted that he can't write female characters, understand their emotions, or most importantly handle romance, which should be noted, writing romance requires a certain skill set as well as writing a female character. It's a talent that you either have or you don't have. Personally, I think Kishimoto had the right idea by being hesitant to include a love triangle in the story, let alone several love triangles, because looking at them from a craft perspective, they were horribly executed. If you guys want, I could make videos going further in depth on these topics, like why the love triangles in the Naruto story were poorly handled in terms of craft, and about how the female characters in Naruto were written poorly. So what did you guys think? That's this edition for Naruto Decoded. Let me know what you guys want to see in the future, but as always guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, share. Thank you so much for watching to the end of the video guys. Have an awesome day.